Welcome to Inside Startup Investing, the only podcast where you can invest in every guest. On this episode, I will be speaking with Ronny Shmoel, CEO of Circuit City. Circuit City was once one of the largest electronic retailers in the United States, but later went bankrupt as the likes of Amazon rose to prominence. And that is where Ronny's story begins. In this episode, we're going to hear how Ronny decided to take a leap of faith and acquire the rights to the Circuit City brand, at the time defunct, but in his eyes presented a unique opportunity to develop a new juggernaut in the electronics e-commerce space. You will also hear how his background in electronics has allowed him to resurrect this brand and capitalize on its namesake to grow this into a business doing tens of millions in revenue a year. And lastly, Ronny and his team have undertaken an interesting strategy where they are focusing on the B2B space, a spot in the market where even the likes of Amazon have yet to optimize. This creates a unique growth channel for Circuit City in the years to come. So with that, let's get on to the show and welcome Ronny. So for those who don't know you, Ronny, give us a little bit of background on yourself and how in the world did you come to acquire and own Circuit City?
It's been a long journey and a great journey, how I got here. So a little background about me. I've been a serial, we use the word serial. I've been a serial entrepreneur now for over 22 years. I've built and grown roughly 4 to 5 e-commerce companies. I merged 2 of them. 4 to 5 e-commerce companies over the span of 20 plus years. My previous venture became one of the top 500 e-commerce companies in the U.S., and we had a successful M&A event exiting out of that. So that led me to Circuit City. So that previous venture was called 47th Street Photo. If some of you listeners remember 47th Street Photo, they were one of the biggest retailers in New York, associated to a B&H Photo, if we all kind of know B&H. Through acquiring a bankrupt brand that had, again, brand awareness within the scope of its own regional customer base, I knew when we had the opportunity to acquire Circuit City and apply a lot of the strategies and apply a lot of the different technologies that were forthcoming as AI and things of that nature. That's how I got into it. I was always in e-commerce and technology, and we'll use the word marketplace.
Well, it's interesting. So you acquired what I'm understanding to be basically a really large kind of photography and probably selling cameras type of business in New York City that went bankrupt. You revive it with an e-commerce strategy. Is that kind of your
yes. So this happened. No, I don't want to. Yeah. So while I was operating a name that I created out of scratch, called eDigital Plus back then. Let's just use a name like that. That was the name that I had. To build a brand from scratch, Chris, takes lots of dollars, lots of marketing even for somebody to remember it the second time. Even they see it, they forget it, they buy the item. There's no loyalty per se, really. They just move on to the next. Every time they have to purchase something, they'll just go on again online and they'll just find it again. With another seller. So when I launched 47th Street, I took a gamble. I said I think my thesis went something like this: I'd rather buy from a brand that I know, even if it's bankrupt, and it happened to be that a lot of people did not know that 47 went bankrupt. It's just an interesting concept. If you're not an avid techie shopper that you're buying the newest gaming or whatnot every week and you're following up, you may not know. If you bought your TV once every 2, 3, 5 years, or, you may not even know the store went out. So when we launched 47th Street, within the first 6 months, 2 to 3x of my sales that I had with my previous business, and I'm like, okay, we're on. This is special. So it really allowed me to, at the time, bring on investors of 47th Street. At the time, there was no crowdfund. We're predating this 2012. So we had to work with a network of accredited high net worth investors, a much smaller pool, but they took a gamble. They took a gamble with me and the team that had experience back then, not the experience that we have now, and we really excelled. We really were focused on the business and building it brick by brick, and it became, lo and behold, we're indexed 7 years in a row as being top 500 e-commerce company, and we were doing over 130 million a year in revenue, and I felt at its height, like you said, we were selling photographic products. cameras, lenses. We moved over to home and business, so we were selling printers and laptops. So we knew this. We knew these other expanded categories. Well, we didn't lead with it. We led with photography. So we also saw from the market of these little devices, right, back in also 2009, 11, 12, when these things started getting smarter and smarter with, the camera started getting better. I saw the writing on the wall. I'm like, you know what? This is good. It's a good place to be in, but I'm going to now move out into something. And it's one of those things, Chris, if you're dedicated and you're focused, and if you are, I would say, committed to building a business, in actuality, down the road, it will happen. You just have to be really, I think, the word is consistency. Day in, day out, you have your good days. You have your days that you're challenged. I mean, we all do. And then you're like, so Circuit City came to my lap, and I didn't have to think twice. I said, I have to get this. And the owner of Circuit City that bought it out of bankruptcy was a large public company. They had a conglomerate of other brands. They owned CompUSA. They owned Tiger Direct. And they kept Circuit City alive online. A lot of people didn't even know the transition, but they kept Circuit City alive online. And they were doing significant revenue, but they didn't do anything innovative. They had a CircuitCity.com website, product pages, a price. They were doing pay-per-click ads, and that's it. And they were just generating revenue off the name. So, and that's a business model by itself.
Well, so then you acquire it. Tell us when you acquired it, and what have you done since to really start growing the revenues, and where are you today?
Yeah, so I had the opportunity in 2016 to acquire it while I was still operating my other business. And it was either acquire it or have 10 other people that were onto this IP, intellectual property of iconic brands space. It's a very small industry of alternative investments just for a brand. Forget about technology and building a company. And people just buy these brands, just like a Toys R Us brand that's out right now, relaunched, right? And they license out the brand. So they don't operate it like I do, like we do, myself and my team. They find a licensor and they just license the brand. So it's like a property, right? And then they're collecting rent. So again, navigating through the jungle and through buyers, I had the opportunity to really buy this off market at the right time, even though I wasn't ready to launch it. I had to take it, realizing how big this brand was when we had it in our hand. I got to tell you, from the woodworks, you can even imagine the people all around the world. You're the new owner, your group, your guys are the new owner. We want to sell you this, we want to sell you that. Not even product, services. And I was like, what the heck is going on here? We used to get bombarded in the beginning. I took a step back. I'm like, you know what? I'm not going to just launch it as I launched my previous brand. I'm going to do something a little different. I want to launch something that's going to be great, but also big, beyond big. Circuit City at its heyday, even the year they went bankrupt, they were doing $12 billion being a public company. So I knew the market. Being in e-commerce, I knew the opportunity because consumer electronics is the fastest, and in my opinion, I have the stats, fastest, largest sector category in e-commerce, period. It's also very high ticket. We're dealing with high ticket items. It's the number one category for Amazon too, as far as revenue. So I said, I have to go back. I have to take a couple of steps back. I hired a ton of consultants, brand strategists, just to kind of get a sense. Well, what does the brand mean for the previous customers and the legacy customers? And talk to me about the age groups and what, just tell me everything. So we did surveys, we did focus groups. We hired e-commerce strategists to figure out what are the white spaces in e-commerce and where's technology going. And then we took all this information and we said, well, it's a lot of information. Let's pace ourselves. Let's at least launch our first iteration of Circuit City, which is just direct to consumer. So as the previous Circuit City owners had a website with products on a page, that's what we did. We built it on IBM's platform back then, which was a futuristic AI, actually back then Watson AI, which was a intelligent shopping journey for the customer, right? So it was a really high-tech website. It took me 2 years to get to launch the brand on a tech platform. And I was fortunate to be able to do that because I still had my other business. You see, so I was still, thinking about just an entrepreneur, we need to earn income and we need to, of course, pay our bills. So at least I had that business, in Circuit City in the background, just building it. And I transitioned. I had an opportunity to exit my other business. And in 2018, we soft launched Circuit City, profitable first year. And since then, have gone out to other verticals. So in 2020, we launched our Circuit City for Business division. And since then, our business division, which we didn't think would be as big, became bigger than just direct-to-consumer. Direct-to-consumer is great. Direct-to-consumer, if people don't know, it means where somebody, an individual will buy a product for themselves or a friend, whatever, a personal product. Now, business-to-business, if you think about that, it's like a Staples or Office Depot. We're finding that that's a tremendous underserved market, and it's actually almost antiquated, right? It hasn't really evolved, the Staples and Office Depot model. So we said we have this big brand, Circuit City. Small businesses shop like regular consumers, right? They may not have a whole entire, procurement department or an IT full staff. So we're there on one end, and we're like, well, how do we figure this out? How do we disrupt this again? So we did very healthy sales our first 2 years for direct to consumer, but B2B now has exceeded our direct to consumer. So we're at 45% versus our 55% B2B.
Well, I imagine, just, even in my own experience, Amazon, great consumer experience. I know they have their business division, but I think businesses are far more likely, to your point, to go to a Staples, an Office Depot, a WB Mason in New York, right, for their office supplies and electronics and the stuff they need for the office. So I'm actually not surprised to hear that. When you're talking about business to business, has your growth strategy been quite literally to go work with procurement teams at large businesses, or is it really just marketing to people at businesses? How are you going after that channel?
This is a good question. Initially, we were finding through looking at analytics and data, our customers, when they check out, they would fill out company name, and we would see it over and over again. We're like, okay, we're finding a trend now. We're finding that these customers are entering in and finding us through Circuit City. Best Buy is interesting. Just to compare to Best Buy, when you buy, and try to do this, by the way, if you try to buy more than 3 of a monitor or laptop on Best Buy, most likely it'll say, call this number. You can't even buy that sometimes. Call our business division. Call us. I'm like, okay. Whatever model they got going, I said, we need to definitely change that. Why are we kind of like not allowing our customers to buy 10 of something or 50? Right. We started finding, because they want the attribution over to the business division. But they won't allow, they don't have a Best Buy business.com website. So I saw an opportunity. I'm like, okay, I got this name that's equivocal in brand awareness to Best Buy, because we always get associated to Best Buy. And I'm like, people are like, do you want to be I'm like, yes. It's like, if you think about Pepsi and you make the correlation to Coke, I'm like, that's the brand power, right? Even though we don't have, we're not a brick and mortar company. We don't plan to open retail. We're not a retail. It's just not the model of what we want to do with these brands. We want to bring them into a modernized, centric platform. And we'll talk about that if you want to cover that. And just look at the future. Where is e-commerce? Where's technology? Where's shopping? Where do the customers want to be in the next 5 years? And that's what we either, have to be in the forefront, can actually be nimble, because we're really working with a blank canvas, Chris. We can be anybody we want to be with the brand Circuit City. So we don't want to also disassociate ourselves and just say, all right, we're going to be a TikTok company and sell electronics with the brand, right? We want to be true to the brand itself, because we have tons and millions of people that know the brand and shop the brand a certain way. They either shop in store or shop online with Circuit City. So we want to kind of keep that continuity, but we also want to be able to be on the forefront of technology. So there's I'm learning over the last 2 years, there's been a balance of that. When customers enter into our site, it started where we have an in-house sales team that would contact the businesses, and we then turned them into an in-house customer now for B2B. So they would actually have now a consultative approach to, hey, John, I'm looking for 8 laptops, 3 of this, or I need to build out a server. Can you help me? And what we do is we push them out. We push those out to the web so they can actually purchase it still with a direct link to the web. So they don't really have to have that friction. And then what we're thinking about is not going after the enterprise businesses. That's a whole nother segment. So we're thinking about the small, medium businesses in America, and they comprise of about 32 million businesses. So let's think about Staples, Office Depot, W.B. Mason. They're focused on the 32 million businesses, and that's where we find the most opportunity.
Where are revenues today, and what are the next? So going to the business segment, how do you continue to grow within that segment, and what are the other growth levers?
Revenues right now, estimation is around 20 million in revenue, and it's not a whole lot for the brand. It's not a whole lot for this category, but we are growing, and we're at a place where we see, even though the market right now, there's the presidential elections coming up and the interest rates, that can affect. We have seen our competitors that are public companies. We could pull their data. We kind of see where they are, but we're not at that $1 billion mark. So, right, if our revenue goes down 1 month, $500,000, or goes up $1 million, we're all on our trajectory and our milestones and our revenue growth. So that's where we're at right now, and it's divided again between B2B and direct to consumer. But we're not stopping there, right? We're not stopping there. So I'll tell you a little bit more about what we're doing to grow our revenue. We've seen an opportunity in the market where companies like, as I mentioned, Toys R Us, Sephora, there's something going on, a phenomenon in retail, brick and mortar retail. As brick and mortar retailers like a Macy's, like a Nordstrom, like a Kohl's, Big Five out there in different categories, we're seeing collaborations. And we've seen this over the last 5 or 7 years where Sephora is in 900 or so Kohl's, or how many stores they have. They're in completely store inside. It's not that we want to go in retail. We also noticed that Sephora has an online complete experience on Kohl's website. So it's like an embedded site. And as a consumer standpoint, would I rather buy, think about it, would I rather buy a cologne or if you buy makeup, would I rather buy that from Kohl's.com, or would I rather buy that from Sephora, who is, call it think about it as a authoritative brand who knows what they're talking about, right? In that category, a trusted source. We've seen it get, again, Target and CVS. Target didn't really need to bring CVS in, but I know that there's a CVS inside Target. So I know what that experience looks like already. I'm familiar with it. So Toys R Us signed a deal for a licensing deal with Macy's. They're actually a much smaller footprint, but it's there. Macy's always had a little toy department. Now, if you go and you see Jeffrey, you see a little billboard of Jeffrey, and now they took over Macy's' toy department. So there's 450 Toys R Us's inside Macy's, but there's a reason why, right? So what we've done is we went out, we networked, we have really gone out with the brand, and the brand will get you meetings. That's one thing I always tell everybody. It's like, Circuit City's contacting me. Okay, well, sure, let's talk. What do you want? What are you offering? We have now gone out to about 10 to 15 different type of businesses, and we just launched our first one. We're actually now, and we're not focused on retail. Remember, we're doing it on the digital side. So we're on JCPenney's website. So you go to JCPenney, you go to electronics, you'll find Circuit City there, and we are now working with other retailers to go live. So we're working within our platform to put and embed our Circuit City brand, which now, think about this, Chris. All the people that come to this website, this JCPenney site, 20 million visitors per month, or in that range, we'll see the brand. Yeah. So for us, it's free brand marketing. We're back on the charts without spending the marketing dollars. Plus, we're able to sell product and services through that. So that is really for us. And again, there's nobody, I say this confidently, nobody else with a brand like us except for a Best Buy. But Best Buy has 1,200 stores. They're not, I can tell you from now, they're not looking to dilute their brand and be with other websites.
I think it's really smart. You're doing you're taking the brand and the brand experience, and you're integrating it into kind of the e-commerce department store, right? The future department store is going to be more e-com, Macy's, but you end up on Macy's and you see the Toys R Us part of the site, and I could find toys. You see the Circuit City part of the site, and you can find electronics there. And you're serving the segment of the market, right, which is the 90s kid. It's the people who are now coming up with money and are buying these things. And they know your brand really, really well. So I love that you're leveraging that. I think it's really smart. So creating these integrated e-commerce experiences, that makes a lot of sense to grow revenues. You're raising capital right now. Talk to me a little bit about where those funds get applied and how that helps you execute against some of these kind of goals and strategies.
You know, the main focus is to scale operations and grow, right? To keep it really simple. You know, we looked at the growth scale and opportunity, and we ourselves internally, and I say ourselves, myself and my team, my leadership team, we've invested ourselves before we even went out to the capital markets. We did a little bit of reverse, Chris. What we wanted to do is we wanted to demonstrate and prove that this was a viable model to put out there in the market. We didn't raise any capital. Luckily, I was very fortunate to exit 4 different companies, save my money, built it up, invested, and reinvested in this because I believed in it. I knew if I keep the course steady, build this up, this is potentially could be a multi-billion-dollar company and brand again. But again, in a different iteration, digital, e-commerce, AI. So we're raising capital. Really, I mean, the culprits in raising capital are marketing, growth sales. We really need to grow our marketing. It's a really simple formula. Right now, we're spending 1% of ad spend on ourselves. It's a significantly low number. It's unheard of. But remember, because of the brand, and we're realizing that if we're putting this billboard of Circuit City on potentially like a Lowe's.com, right? Our marketing costs all go down. Our ROAS actually just really goes down. Plus operations. We really need to put more money in operations. We really are looking for more, we call them Navy SEALs in our office. These are people that have years and years of experience in the industry. We have people from Amazon. We have people from Walmart corporate. We have a couple people from Radio Shack. And we are looking to really grow the team. So we really need to bring those people to support the business because it's really about the people and the mission. Plus, you know, tech development today has gone down as innovation, but it still costs money to develop the tech. We really need to build out some more tech. So this whole, I'll talk about that really quick. The tech platform that we're building upon is built in AI. And I know everybody throws, you know, I'm very transparent about it. Everybody throws AI. We're in AI. AI is something in the forefront, right? We're all excited about it. It really, if we don't embrace it, we're going to fall behind. So we knew when we signed up with IBM and they introduced the Watson AI back then, back in 2017, 18, I was enamored. I was like, oh my, where are we going? So tech development does cost money, but you need to do that. I mean, it needs to be in the forefront. Our tech development stack is so cool to the point that, think about this. If we want to give personalization, even to think about another company like JCPenney, our backend looks like this. We have up to 5 million different products, thousands of brands. We're not going to post all those brands online because we're gonna then run the Amazon effect, flooded results. Flooded. And it's like, try to find your next whatever you want on Amazon and consumer electronics. Unless you know, I want to buy those AirPods. And then it's trying to like find out, well, who sells it? Amazon, another seller. Are they refurbished? Are they not? So we're trying to really narrow it down, just make it a clean, concise shopping experience. So we have to put a lot of capital over time into tech development and marketing. Really, those are the two culprits. But in the tech development, what's cool about it, Chris, if we realized we had our own problem internally, if we wanted to grow in the segments of this proprietary store-in-store online, and we wanted to even go really fast forward in the future, where we can become, again, a household name, we needed to build a platform that allowed us to really, call it, propagate and match all the products that belong to that retailer. I'll give you an example. That retailer services customers in the age groups of, let's say, 50 to 65. They're dominantly, let's say, we won't even say male or female. Their household medium is this. And they are really densed out in these parts of the country. Not every product, not every brand, not every single thing is going to match them. So they're really and really building something big. And besides that application in tech development, we need it for our everyday Circuit City website. So that's where really a lot of the capital comes in. We have these beautiful, amazing digital shopping experiences, Chris, where if you think about how you shop in store and how you shop online is still very, very different. My vision was actually to bring a lot of that with tech that's out there right now. How can a customer shop? Somebody like my mother, which God bless her, she just really became a little bit more techie, but she's still, struggling with it sometimes. So she still likes going to a store sometimes. She's like, I want to touch it, Ronnie. I'm like, well, what if I showed you this, Mom? True story. So I actually gave her a beta. I let her be one of my users for beta testing. And there's something called Shop by Room. She can go to this virtual room online. Very simple. Very simple. And she can actually swap out products, a blender in the kitchen, a little toaster. And then she can actually, through VR, virtual reality, take a picture of the room, just point it with your iPhone, and it'll bring that photo of her kitchen inside. So I'm like, you know what? This is where we need to go. This is where tech needs to be in the forefront, and the conversions are higher. We're realizing that the baskets are higher. People end up buying more stuff. So I know I spoke a lot about allocation of capital. People just give like marketing and sales, operations, tech development, personnel. I'm really thinking about like going in there and, we really have like this slope of where the capital is going to go. It's very strategic, and it is really accounted for. I'm actually, I like to, people actually tell me sometimes, Ronnie, you're very frugal when it comes to business. I'm like, if it doesn't make money, don't invest in it, in the business. Don't, I'm not into the crazy conference rooms and whatnot. If it's practical and it makes money. So I just wanted to kind of put that out.
I'll give you the last word here, 30 seconds. For those who are kind of on the line about investing, what's kind of your final pitch to them?
Yeah, so if somebody's interested in investing in Circuit City, Circuit City, we already have a really successful track record. We have an experienced seasoned team. We have a diversification, really a strong diversification through distinctive business units. We have like worldwide brand awareness. Building a brand is really tough. And we have multiple paths. I think the most important thing for an investor is, okay, I like the story, great brand. How am I going to make money? When am I going to? So we already have paths for liquidity. We are thinking in the future for an IPO. We've already received 3 LOIs for acquisitions of the brand, Chris. So we're really in that trajectory. What's the most important thing for me as an investor? I like the company. I'll put some money in. When am I going to see a return, a prospective, return? So this is why I believe everybody should invest in Circuit City.
If you liked what you heard on the show today, you can check out Circuit City Now, Raising on Republic Labs. And please like, subscribe, and share our podcast wherever you listen to podcasts so more listeners like you can find us. Thanks for listening.